The oil-rich Qatar is the latest government to attempt to mediate Rwanda and its resource-rich neighbor DR Congo, the troubled green jungle in the heart of Africa. The recent dispute between two countries has sucked in other countries in the restive Great Lakes region, raising stakes of a full-blown war. A planned peace deal in the Qatari capital, Doha, on January 23, 2023, collapsed after the DR Congo president, Felix Tshisekedi, opted out. The oil-rich Arabian country is financing Rwanda's Bugesera International Airport, and as such, it has sway over Kigali. However, highly placed sources reveal that Qatar does not have the same influence over Kinshasa. Sources also revealed that former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta and Angolan President João Lourenço led peace processes are likely to drag on, particularly due to not having sway over Rwanda's President Paul Kagame. As such, sources intimated that the Ugandan government is under immense pressure by both regional countries and the international community to play a leading role in mediating its two warring neighbors to halt the expansionist drive by M23 in the volatile North Kivu that has so left hundreds dead and hundreds of thousands displaced. But Kampala's government, which recently normalized relations with Kigali early last year, may not appear entirely neutral. Kampala-Kigali relation thawed in April 2022, which was highlighted with the visit of President Kagame to attend the president's son's birthday, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is a senior presidential advisor on special operations. Relations between the two countries started deteriorating in mid-2017 and culminated in the temporary closure of the border in 2019. President Tshisekedi, alongside Angola's President Lourenço, Congo-Brazzaville's Denis Sassou Nguesso, and former President Kenyatta were at the forefront of mediating President Museveni and his Rwandan counterpart. Now, the tables have since turned. On January 24th, the Rwandan army fired a missile at a Congolese Sukhoi 25 fighter jet as it flew over Goma, the capital of the North Kivu province, at the Uganda-Rwanda-Congo border. The flashpoint, North Kivu province, is at the epicenter of clashes between the Congolese army and the March 23 movement or M23 rebel group that is supported by the Kigali establishment. This week on Wednesday, Rwandan Defense Forces said in a statement that it had repulsed a group of Congolese army, FADRC forces, that reportedly entered into the no man's land territory within the border with Kigali.
This M23 may be the force which is causing problems of which now people are focusing on. But as I said, there are another 120, another 130 groups. Why aren't we addressing the issue of the 130 groups? Because you remember the mandate of MONUSCO initially, or even up to now, because it was a changed mandate in 2010, the expanded mandate was to deal with all the negative forces. In 2013, when MONUSCO was expanded to include the intervention brigade, the intervention brigade mandate was supposed to deal with all the negative forces. What did the IB do? It only dealt with the issue of M23. In any case, even it never really defeated M23 because these people ended up in exile in Uganda and Rwanda, and then they were able to regroup and go back.
A United Nations panel of experts in early August 2022 fingered Kigali for violating international sanctions by extending support, including weapons and uniforms, to the M23 rebellion. The 131-page panel of experts report prepared for the UN Security Council, the world body's most powerful organ, detailed solid evidence of Rwandan armed forces operating inside eastern DRC since November 2021. Kigali accuses the Congolese government of orchestrating a silent genocide against Congolese Tutsis who live in Kivu. However, the revelations came on the heels of deteriorating diplomatic relations between DR Congo and Rwanda. The border between the two countries remains closed. Owing to the gravity of the situation, East African Community deployed regional armies under the banner the East African Community Regional Force in eastern DR Congo to decisively deal with the Tutsi-led M23 rebel group that continues to maraud vast swathes of the North Kivu province in eastern DR Congo. However, almost 6 months on since the regional force was deployed, pent-up frustration and anger continues to swell among communities in North Kivu province over the passivity of the regional army towards the marauding rebel group. While the Kampala regime is avoiding being directly drawn into the conflict, highly placed sources say only UPDF can mount a military challenge against the M23 and its backers. Either way, regional security expert Philip Kasaija says only a political solution can anchor lasting peace in DRC.
For me, at the end of the day, in order for us to understand what is taking place in Eastern DRC, let us not be reactive. I think fundamentally what this requires is to go to the root causes. What is the root cause of the problem? Is it a political economy kind of conflict because you have groups which have been exploiting resources which they use to fund their activities? So if that is the case, then why don't we now establish a regime which is going to govern the resources and then of course establish the presence of the state?
The Kivus is a sanctuary for hundreds of roaming militias and mercenary groups. Kasaija said one of the keys to de-escalating the M23 issue could be in revisiting the 2013 peace agreements signed in Nairobi when the Tutsi-led rebel group was defeated.
There are two agreements which were signed in 2013, what we call the Nairobi Declarations. The Nairobi Declarations are two documents. One was signed by the Congo government, another was signed by the M23. They were commitments. There are 11 commitments if you read the two documents together. There are 11 commitments which these two parties agreed. Issues of repatriation, issues of integration of M23 in the FADC, issues to do with the amnesty. There are so many issues. There are about 11 of them. So why don't we do an audit? Why don't we find out who implemented what between 2013 and 2021 or 2022 when we had a resurgence of M23? Before then we declare, we say, oh, it is Rwanda which is supporting M23 and so why don't we first look at those documents?
Late last month, communities in Goma in North Kivu protested against the unresponsiveness of the East African Community Regional Force in eastern DR Congo, while the M23 rebels continue to gain ground in the territory. The regional force's reluctance to take direct action, sources added, is as a result of Rwanda's involvement with the rebels, which could escalate the conflict. So far, Burundi, Kenya and South Sudan have deployed armies into the DRC, while Tanzania has a neutral posture and is yet to deploy its troops. Kenya, whose former President Uhuru Kenyatta is the facilitator of the East African Community-led peace process, assumed the neutral position, including coordinating other regional forces. Highly placed sources told NTV that Nairobi is banking on the UPDF forces for reinforcement in case they get into a direct confrontation. The international community too is beseeching the UPDF, which is pondering deploying about 2,500 UPDF soldiers in North Kivu to play a decisive role in the plucking out the M23 guerrillas. The Washington-based Human Rights Watch detailed in a report late last year that the M23 have committed summary executions and forced recruitment of civilians. Well, a 2018 UK government report noted that the key challenge in resolving the M23 crisis is the ambiguity of the group's character. The UK government report noted, and I quote, different readings of the M23's origins, motivations and legitimacy led to significant confusion in determining the most appropriate response. Besides Uganda, the other armies that could scatter the M23 are in the Southern African Development Community or SADC, the regional bloc of Southern African nations. 25 years ago, following the ouster of the kleptocratic regime of Mobutu Sese Seko, the then Laurent Kabila regime, under the fierce attack of the Kampala-Kigali military alliance, called upon SADC to intervene. It sucked in 9 African nations in what was called Africa's World War. Uganda and Rwanda propped up different militia groups, which then led to clashes between the two armies between 1999 to 2001 in Kisangani over the control of strategic locations and mineral wealth. Then, the two countries engaged in a shooting war as both sides plundered Congo's mineral wealth. A diplomat speaking on condition of anonymity told NTV that, and I quote, Kigali knows that Kenyans are just bluffing with their threats of military action. At the best, the solution lies in the goodwill of the two leaders, Kagame and Tshisekedi. What Tshisekedi has done so far is raising the bar, attracting international attention. But then, what?
There's so much ink that has been spent on the issues of Eastern DRC. But it's as if we just go in circles. We are just moving in circles. If we have signed an agreement, if there's an agreement, so why don't we go and look at those agreements? Who implemented what? Why were they implemented? Because eventually, even these things which we are trying to do right now, we might eventually end up with an agreement. So is that agreement going to be implemented? We have the Peace and Security Framework, which was signed in 2013, which again establishes guarantors, establishes commitments by the Congo government, establishes commitments by the region, establishes commitments by these groups. What has happened to the PSC framework? Why don't we make a review? Why don't we, so before we even go into these things which are new? So for me, at the end of the day, in order for us to understand what is taking place in Eastern DRC, let us not be reactive.
Under the auspices of the regional force, Burundi deployed boats on the ground in Eastern DRC last July, while the William Ruto administration deployed forces in Goma towards the end of 2022. According to a 26-page classified concept of operations document signed by all army chiefs from the East African Community member states in June 2022, Eastern DR Congo was divided into 6 sectors, with each country given a specific sector to pacify. Rwanda, which has been accused of supporting the Tutsi-led M23 rebel group, is to remain on its border with the DR Congo along the province of North Kivu and the South Kivu as a block guard. With the recent acquisition of weapons, including sophisticated drones from Turkey, there are fears that unless a pragmatic diplomatic solution is reached, the DRC could be convulsed by a new regional conflict.